All right, Bucks win, Bucks win, Bucks win, and what a win it was. What a insane game. As I'm just going to be honest, the way this game started, it was, quite frankly, a disaster right off the bat. I mean, offensively, the defense was good throughout, but offensively, this was a mess. Baker Mayfield in his first, he started 3 for 12 with 11 yards, or maybe it was 3 for 11 for 12 yards, but it was something like that. Basically, the passing game was non-existent, and late in the first half, the Vikings had 6.7 times the amount of yards that the Buccaneers had. I did the math. And at the half, the Vikings had like 3 times as many yards as the Buccaneers had. But there were a couple of key things that kept the Buccaneers in it. Turnovers was obviously the big one, as Minnesota in many ways beat themselves early on, which, definitely there's some flukiness to that. I think that you could certainly make the argument that the Vikings were the overall better team, quote unquote, throughout. But there also is the flip side of Mayfield did not turn the ball over. They did not beat themselves. And even when things were going poorly early on for Tampa Bay, they didn't maximize the issue and were able to hang around and still be down just 7 points before that first drive towards the end of the half that Mayfield had that really got them back in it. It took Tampa Bay a minute to figure things out. That's undeniable. It took them a second to figure out what exactly they were doing. But once they did, things did look a lot better. Their offense still in the second half wasn't elite, but it was very good, and it was able to do enough at that point. So several, things to talk about in this one. The first one, though, we got to just talk about Baker Mayfield. I mean, like I said, it was a struggle early on. It was. And, I wouldn't be shocked if some people were wondering, hey, we had Kyle Trask. Is it time to start going there? Because it wasn't just like guys weren't getting open. Mayfield did miss throws. I mean, he was having a tough day out there. I mean, there's no getting around it, really. So because of that, I certainly think it is fair to, it was fair to criticize early on. But man, once that drive happened towards the end of the second quarter, that got them back in it, he was really good from that point on. And quite frankly, he was fun to watch. As a Tampa Bay fan, he's just an exciting quarterback to watch. I don't know. There's so much energy in the way he plays his game. How can you not just enjoy seeing him play football? That was a lot of fun, even down to that final drive where he has the scramble to pick up the first down. Unfortunately, had to go out of bounds to do it, but you'll certainly still take that, get an extra 3 downs. And then after 2 rushes really went for nothing on third down, kind of a bold call. I mean, you could have ran the ball there. You could have decided, you know what, let's just get another field goal, go up 6. There'll be about a minute left for the Vikings, and, minute trying to score a touchdown against the defense that's played pretty well. You could take that. You could decide to do that, but they said no. They decided to go for it there, and Mayfield just made a good throw. But Chris Godwin, I mean, what a catch Chris Godwin had. And that's the thing is kind of why I ended up, when we did the preview show, kind of saying like, hey, I think Tampa Bay is not getting enough credit for their chance to win this game. They were 6-point underdogs. I kind of felt like part of that was, I'm a biased Tampa Bay fan, but also part of it was because it's like, they still have Mike Evans. They still have Chris Godwin, and there's some untested Minnesota corners. The untested Minnesota corners still played, I thought, pretty well. Like Evans Evans on Evans, I thought had a pretty good game out there. I thought that there was, it was not a disaster by any means from Minnesota, but Tampa Bay's skill players were able to make enough plays to get the offense going when they had to, especially with that play. So yeah, really good stuff from Mayfield. For the Tampa Bay defense, before we will get into the Vikings and all that stuff, don't worry. The Tampa Bay defense, I mean, the Justin Jefferson, actually, here's where I want to go next. Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles has gotten a lot of criticism on this channel. He's gotten a lot of criticism on everyone's channel if they have a football channel, because he's deserved criticism. I thought that the team last year for Tampa Bay was an actively poorly coached team. I did. However, this was a very good game from Todd Bowles. There were still some mistakes. Still didn't love the running on 3rd down and 5, which isn't Bowles' decision, but it's a guy that Bowles hired making the decision to do that. I still thought that there were some offensive coaching decisions that I didn't love, and that's just, I'm always going to have that disagreement, because I would, be a bit more aggressive if I was an offensive coach than most teams would, and Bowles is on the Tampa Bay has been on the more conservative side these past couple of years. But what Todd Bowles did so well were two things. First off is a game management decision. Going for it on 4th down and 1 at your own 32-yard line is objectively the correct decision, I think. The analytics strongly say that's something you should do. A quarterback sneak is a very high percentage play, even though it almost failed. To me, it usually works out, and the benefit is actually significantly more important than if it fails. The reward of keeping the football is better than the field position battle. Field position isn't as important as possession is. So, the decision is almost always worth it. But again, Bowles isn't someone who typically goes for it in these situations. That's not typically his MO. So perhaps this is some taking the criticism and understanding it and saying, you know what, maybe I was too conservative at times. The other thing he did was the work that the coaching staff did on Justin Jefferson in the second half. And again, I'm watching broadcast footage. I'm watching several different games at once. So it's possible this isn't exactly what happened. But from what I saw, what they did in the first half was kind of saying, you know what, Justin Jefferson's awesome. We're going to try to put Carlton Davis on him as much as possible. But you know what? If they line up Jefferson in the slot, then they line up Jefferson in the slot. Well, hopefully our slot players will be able to make the play. Hopefully our linebackers will be able to make the play. That didn't work. Pretty much everyone else for the Vikings weren't able to do that much. Addison had a couple big plays, but other than that, there was a lack of kind of that other stuff, I thought, for Minnesota. And what Todd Bowles kind of realized was, let's just take Jefferson out of the game, and let's just force other guys to win. And while there were moments where other guys won, there weren't consistent moments where other guys won. And because of that, it was just a really exciting, a really good defensive performance by Tampa Bay. I mean, there really wasn't much going at all in the second half for Minnesota. Now, again, I said I would talk about the Vikings. There's no denying that if it wasn't for the turnovers early on, this is a different football game. I mean, Minnesota shot themselves in the foot, and they shot themselves in the foot badly. And that interception was a good play, but still, it's like, man, if that doesn't happen, the Vikings go right back up at the half. It went from Buccaneers feeling good, finally getting a touchdown drive, to now being down 7 yet again. That was a tough one, and they had a couple tough ones. So, as a whole, I mean, this was a game that the Vikings are going to look at and say they should have won. That's just how you have to view it. And I think for Minnesota, there are some concerns. While your defense played better than maybe you expected going in, kind of one thing we talked about is they are expecting a lot out of, Hawkinson had some plays as well. I should mention him. He had some solid plays. They like Hawkinson. They like Jefferson, as they should. Addison had some solid plays, but they didn't have a ton outside of that. At the end of the day, it's not just 3 wide receivers who come in and play. There are more wide receivers. And I think some depth issues could be an issue, but also Cousins just has to play better. I mean, this was not a good Cousins performance, and if they're going to make the playoffs this year, he has to be a better quarterback. It's just that simple, really. So, those are all of my thoughts on this game. Bucs win. Bucs are 1-0, tied for the division lead. That's always good. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.